Hey Adventure, so we're going to take a look at my quarter 4 MBR. These are the books that I may read this month, or these next 3 quarters. Of course, by the time that I'm filming this, it's already the 13th of October. So we're halfway through the first month of this quarter already. And by the time you'll be watching this, it'll be the end of October. So who knows what books of these I'll already have gotten to, but we will take a look and actually see what the plan is, or what the plan might be, rather, because it's a MBR might be read, because I can't stick to a TBR. And so this basically is just giving me options of books that I want to read. I did designate several years ago, I designated 2024 as a year of Lewis, and this was a chance for me to read as much C.S. Lewis as I had. And so that's still kind of the plan. I so far have only read one book by C.S. Lewis that I own physically. I'm not rereading Narnia at this point, but I will be reading, trying to read the Space Trilogy, and I have one other short story collection that I'll be mentioning here in a second. I've already read the first book, Paralandra, or the first book, which is Out of the Silent Planet, and so book 2 is Paralandra, and so we will talk about those in a second here. Firstly, though, I'm going to mention The Wizard Knight by Gene Wolfe. This is a duology comprised of the Knight and the Wizard, and I'm going to be reading the Knight first, and that will be in October, and then in November I will be reading the Wizard. And the goal with this, or the plan, is to read these with, at the moment it is Liam from Liam's Lyceum, Shannon from Shannon's Shelf, is that what it's called? What his channel's called? And Britton from Some Okie Dude, and we're reading these books together, and I am behind. If I could read about 15 pages a day, then I'd be caught up, but at the moment I can't, and I'm on chapter 6, which is only page 57. So I'm not far enough in to actually have really made any progress, but I do want to continue with this. This is my physical read for the month of October and November. I do think that I'll fly through it fairly quickly, because those 56 pages that I have read have gone fairly quickly. So it's just a matter of having time to sit down and read it. And so far I have not had that time yet. But I do plan to read all of this in October and November. Moving on, now I can mention Paralandra, which is book 2 in the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis, and That Hideous Strength, which is book 3. And so yes, I do plan to read these in the month of sometime between October and December. I want to try and read these physically because I have them physically, but I may end up just going with the audiobooks just for the sake of getting through them, but I don't really want to. I may just not even worry about this being a year of Lewis, and may just read these when I get time for them. Sticking with Lewis for the moment, I'll mention The Dark Tower and Other Stories. This is a collection of short stories by C.S. Lewis, and so I plan to read these as part of my year of Lewis. However, I have no idea if I'm going to successfully make it through these, because I'm going very slowly through my physical reading at the moment. But 3 books, I think, and 3 fairly short books at that, I think that I can read all of those in these next 3 months, but we will see, because I do have other things. Wizard Knight is the big one that I want to get through physically, but then these other 3 I would love to get through as well. And I have a few more books on this list here. These are things that I may read. The things that at the time of writing most of this, which was back in quarter 1 when I planned out some of these ideas, but I chose to leave them on here, although I did add a couple new things as well. But some of these things are still on my list, and at the time that I added them, they were things that I really wanted to read, and I still do, truthfully, but they're not ones that are calling to me in the same way as some of the other books that I have on my shelves. So let's see, what's the next one I have? I want to finally start Red Rising. I have had these books on my shelf, the Red Rising trilogy on my shelf, for a while now, and I know so many people that absolutely love these books, and I think that I will like them. I just haven't sat down and started them yet, but if I get the opportunity, I would love to read this series, and the first book at least is not that long, and so if I can read that in quarter 3, that would be great. I'm not expecting to be able to, quite honestly. I also threw The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle on this list, and this was back when I wrote this list in like quarter 1 of this year, and so it's just been sitting on the list, but at the moment it's not calling to me as much, so this will likely be the one that will get pushed off and pushed off and pushed off, because I don't care at the moment. I want to read it, yes, but I'm not feeling the draw to it in the same way as I was in at the beginning of this year. That's one of the strengths for sure of an MBR, is that you can mood read with it still. So if you're not feeling something or you don't want to read it right now, you can just say, I'm not going to do that, because it's a might be read. And that really works well for me, in my opinion. Next one I've got listed is Tribe of the Accord by Sean Michael Stone. And this is one that I was sent to by the author, or I was sent this book by the author, and so I do want to read it for that. I want to read it, I want to be able to give it a good review. As I tell all the authors that contact me, I cannot guarantee that I will get to your book anytime soon. And that is still the case. It hasn't been any time soon since I received this book, and you can see the stacks behind me a little bit on the shelf behind me, and the fact of the matter is, with those as well, I am behind. And there's a lot of these books that have been sent to me that I want to get to. I just haven't. I haven't had the time to sit down and physically read. And I love physically reading, and I love supporting authors, and so I want to. I just haven't, and I need to, and I need to try and be better. But if you send me something, know that part of that is I cannot guarantee when I will read it. So, but I do, although it's not calling to me in the same way right now, this is one that, because it's on my MBR and because it is one that has been sent to me a while back, I do want to prioritize this if I can get to it. All right, so the next three that I have on here will probably be audiobook reads. Two of them I know for certain will be audiobook reads. One of them will probably be just by nature of that's how I will get to it more quickly, although I don't know how I'm planning to do that. Anyways, this one is Wind and Truth, which is book 5 of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. This one I fully plan to read this year. I should have plenty of time. I'm back to having time to listen to audiobooks, so I will likely get to this one on audiobook, and I would prefer to read it physically, but since I can't, that's fine. I will still try and get through this one relatively quickly after it comes out. Obviously jump on the bandwagon of reviewing it while it's popular and while it's going to be getting lots of views and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do want to read Wind and Truth fairly rapidly. I'm currently doing a reread of Stormlight, so those are good ones that I should include on here as well. I have Oathbringer and Rhythm of War left on my reread, so those will be read fairly quickly here, and then I will move on once Wind and Truth comes out to reading Wind and Truth. I just need to go through and relearn Stormlight Archive because I've forgotten a lot since I first read it. The other two are books 12 and 13 of Wheel of Time. I figure I can probably get through those, maybe even book 14 of Wheel of Time as well. I would like to try and finish Wheel of Time up so that I can just set it aside and say, okay, I'm done. I don't need to read this anymore. And so that means trying to get through them. And so The Gathering Storm and Towers of Midnight are books 12 and 13. And hopefully I'll get to those this quarter. I suspect I probably can, and I suspect I will probably push for that even if I'm not feeling it, just so that I can finish up the series, because I want to make some progress on some series that I have going. That is my quarter 4 TBR, or quarter 4 MBR, with the exception of one book, which is my annual reread of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I don't know yet how I'm going to read this, if I'll be doing audiobook or if I'll be physically reading. I love physically reading The Hobbit. It's one of the best experiences I ever have. If I do physically read it, I don't know if I'll be using this edition, which I don't believe I've yet read from, so I may go with this one, or I may just stick with my illustrated edition because that is a fantastic way to read the book. Or maybe I will listen to the audiobook. I'm not sure. But I also want to, so this year, when in January, February, March, when I was doing my reread of The Lord of the Rings, I approached it differently. I approached it from the point of view of Frodo specifically. And so I only read the chapters from his perspective, and that was really fun. That was a really cool way to approach Lord of the Rings differently. And because I reread these books annually, I would not have any problem if I could find some new way to approach reading The Hobbit and reading Lord of the Rings for next year. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I don't have any ideas at the moment. So if anybody has an interesting idea of how to approach reading The Hobbit, let me know. Comment down below and let me know what you have in mind, and I will probably consider giving it a try because I love the book as it is, and I will absolutely continue reading it many, many times, just straight through as it is. But I don't have any problem in it. I'm intrigued to find different ways of rereading these books. So anyways, that is my MBR for quarter 4 of 2024. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. If you have any ideas of, if you have anything you want to mention about any of these books that I'm reading or anything like that, please let me know. Comment down below, especially if you have an idea for how I can approach reading The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings differently on this reread. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys again soon. Stay well.